Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason, and you're welcome to Jason's Room. And I got a very special guest in the house. His name is Comrade Ini Ememobong, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Information and Strategy. If you notice, my accents don't change, my voice differentiates. Get me, hey. My price just went up, ladies and gentlemen. I got a song for you, sir. I had to get this Kegai Club song. I know you're a strong member of the Kegai's Club, and yeah, so I'll just go quick to questions. Aside from Kegai music, sir, you have liking for any other genre, like Nigerian music, Akwa Ibom music?
Ordinarily, for me, music is the wordings and how you play with them. So
Yes,
it's
sir.
the art of stringing those words together to make sense.
Yes, sir.
So immediately I listen to music. For example, if you recall that song by Onyeka Onwenu and King Sunny Ade,
Yes, sir.
those early days, they were trying to promote safe parenthood, family planning. If you love me,
Yes,
you
sir.
go wait for me. Now, it wasn't about that. They said the future I see is a future I desire, but I want you in that future. You know, the lines in those songs keeps running on my head. So it's about the wordings.
Yes,
It's
sir.
about the logic behind the music.
Yes,
So
sir.
music for me is primarily the emotion transferred by the maker of the music.
Anybody you like in the new generation, sir? Like Nigerian music?
Recently, I don't know whether he's new generation. I've been listening to and thinking about this guy that sang a song that people are pushing for to become the national anthem now. What's his name?
Wizkid,
No. I guess it's from Bayelsa.
Timaya,
No, Timidakolo.
Timidakolo.
Yeah.
Oh.
That song of his.
Okay.
So, that song of his about our country
Yes, sir.
is so deep,
Okay, sir.
very soul searching, and and it's a song that shows we're not yet ready to give up on the country.
Yes, sir.
We're not ready to give up on the country.
Okay.
So, but not to discountenance the other guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Davidos. You know, I have a lot of younger people under
Yeah,
me.
I
People
noticed.
like Blessing Menem.
Yes, sir.
They don't allow me hear anything. So, but they find it difficult to have that conversation with me because when they start the conversation of music, I draw them to politics. So,
Yes, sir.
so we just end up both of us. So I appreciate what the Davidos, the Wizkids.
Okay. Yes, sir.
There's this other guy that sang this song, Kiss Daniel.
Yeah.
There's this song he sang where in the video the person had an accident. Yeah.
Okay.
So the setting, the setup, the capacity to link the wordings with the video.
Yes,
you
sir.
know. So even if you were not listening to the wordings and you're watching the video,
Yes, sir.
you'd most likely understand. Your understanding
The
would,
message.
yeah, would be as if you're listening to it. So a lot of young people are doing things down here. The Iqbal the Zillions, the all of they're doing so
Libras.
well. The Libras, yeah,
Yes,
they're doing. Their rap is crazy, you know,
Yes, sir.
and Iqbal and Zillions, the things they do with, you know,
Ibibio.
the first I heard, and fortunately, they're doing these songs in Ibibio and it's getting national acclaim.
Yes, sir.
So most of the people who listen to them don't even understand what they're saying.
Yes,
But
sir.
you know, it flows. And if you also follow the logic in the sequence they put into it, you know, it's solid.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, I'm going to be spontaneous with questions, not to waste your time. And I know you're the second son, and second borns have been known for being headstrong. Would you say that's what's brought you this far?
Well, I haven't had my head
In a short while.
I haven't had my head cracked, so I don't know whether I have a strong head. But I know that I'm a person of conviction. I'm also spontaneous, like you said. I think on my feet.
Yeah.
Immediately I got in here, I fell in love with the place.
Yes, sir.
And that's how I make my decisions.
Yes, sir.
The other decisions, yes, that you need information, a lot of information to
sir.
make. But the decision as to where to go, how to go, it just comes to me very quickly and it comes strong. And by the grace of God, I've not missed it. So I won't attribute it to my opinionated disposition.
Yeah.
I'll attribute it to God. Everything I've wanted myself, hasn't turned out how I wanted it. But the way the Lord steers me through now becomes, you now ask yourself, so why didn't I think of this early on? But you just discover that God would always be God. So for me, the key to my own success has been God has been listening to that inner man, and what he says to you. And very little of my effort. I'm an ordinary person.
Yes.
So I just, I happen to be guided by the infinite to take decisions that eventually turn out well. So some of them can be very risky decisions, but I just have peace of mind. Immediately I take the right decision, I have peace of mind. And in most of those times where I take those decisions, I just say a few words of prayer. And I admit, there's a song I'm a member of the Church of Christ, so there's a song in the hymnary that says, Aminkutusong afomoku. So immediately I'm confused about a thing. I agree that my sight is limited, but there's a limitless capacity of one who owns me. And at that point, so I cease to function and allow him to bring his limitlessness into expression. And in all of the times I've allowed the Lord to take charge, the answer has been humongous.
Yes, sir. Grace is playing a big role. That's what you mean, sir. Grace is playing a very big role. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuned in, we have the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Comrade Ini Ememobong, in the house, in Jason's room. As I said, my price just went up. You guys are not going to see me now, get me. So walk us through your daily routine when you're not Honorable Commissioner. Like as a father, as a friend, as a mentor to the likes of Blessing. Walk us through it.
Okay, so they'll tell you it's hell for them because I'm not a perfectionist, but I just think that things can be done well. And when I get into a place that things are well done, like I got in here, I pick details.
Yes, sir.
I do not believe in the limitation of the human person. I believe in the limitless capacity of the human person. I believe in the fact that it was Sir Wendell Holmes who said that with every new idea, the mind of man is stretched to new capacities, and it never goes back to its former capacity. So I believe that there's no best. Best is circumstantial. When you get to the best, push some more. You are now the best.
Yes,
push some more. So you keep pushing. And I believe in the fact that we're in a competition with ourselves, not another. So Jason ought to be in a competition with Jason to be a better Jason today than he was yesterday. Not Jason being in a competition with Blessing. It doesn't make sense. Because both of you don't have the same path to chart.
It's true.
We can arrive at the destination of success. It's the route to success. Success is the destination with the largest routes in the whole world. Anyhow, you can arrive at success, even though you know what to do and you do it well. So daily routines, every time we see, for example, I expect that top of the mind, he should be able to tell me what are the issues happening in the world. So if I arrive and unluckily for him, as I woke up trying to brush, I tuned on the TV and I see something on CNN. And I come down and over breakfast. Sometimes they wait for me to come down for us to have breakfast. Sometimes they're selfish enough to eat my food without waiting for me. And so if they wait for me, if they are magnanimous enough to wait for me, the likes of Carrot, Bok, and Oluwa. So by the time we sit on the table, I'm most likely, what's happening in the world? If it doesn't have, I'm like, wow, are you sure your brain isn't on vacation?
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And we begin to ask issues about common sense, because I expect that we live in an information age, and the difference between our wages may just be the information we have. And not just the information we have, how quickly we can access that information.
Okay.
It's just like sitting here and breaking news now makes stations. Why CNN? Because something happens in your backyard.
Yes, sir.
They break the news. You're wondering how they are there. So everyone advertises that. You now discover that even schools in Nigeria now go to CNN to advertise. And the question is, why? They pay so much to go there to advertise. Because they know that many Nigerians of worth are hooked up there. And they get their money's value. So the average day, without being commissioner, you wake up, you have a wife by your side, Most times you don't wake up to find her because she would have gone for aerobics and gym and the like. I get too tired to do that.
So how about being a dad? How often?
Yeah, with the kids, we spend some time with them. I must say, I desire in the coming year to spend more time. Reason being that the other day my daughter said, she's 8, and she said to me, Daddy, can we have a conversation? I looked around the room, I was thinking, who said that? And she's like, I said it.
Yeah.
You know, if she had said, can we have a talk? It would have, can we have a conversation? So now, what's a conversation? Is I need to talk with you, and I also need you to talk with me. I'm like, wow. So I sit down and we begin to talk. And the things she said were very deep. She asked, you travel a lot. You're most times not around. I'm like, yes, so how do you feel when you're not around? She said, yes, we miss you. We feel we should have more time with you. But we've discovered that you do this so that many more people can be better. And I was shocked. I said, how do you know? He said, I see the number of people who come to our house. I see the number of people who come to you. I listen to what you and mommy talk about at the foundation. And so we excuse you. But I just thought you should know that. Is there any way we can support you? How does an 8-year-old want to support? So now there's a piggy bank, you know, we made for them like a box. So every Sunday, as you give them collection, they ask you for money to put in the piggy bank. So I'd forgotten about it. So Kemini says to me, Dad, I think we have saved enough in the piggy bank so we can actually take money out and go and visit children without parents in the homes. And it really touched me.
Yes, sir.
Touched me. So, but I have discovered there's a lot to learn from them. We think we know, but what the children know. Okay, so just one more scene. That happened quite recently. The school introduces what they call a student's diary, where the pupils write what they did, and a parent has to sign, and a teacher will countersign. Because I'm not around, I don't get to know that happens. So this day, my son, he's 6, comes to me to say that, you've never signed my school diary. Mommy has always been signing it. I don't feel good about it. I'm like, oh, is there a school diary? He says, yes, there's a school diary. Okay, let me bring and show you. So he brings his school diary and I look at it. And I see the position for parents. So I pick out my pen and I sign. And he's very excited.
Yes, sir.
And these are signatures I sign. In fact, even for a query, you sign, you know, signatures you waste around. Yes, but that signature meant a lot to that child. So when I signed, he now went to call his siblings. I said, Daddy signed my diary, Daddy signed my diary. And he held onto the book, hugged the book so tightly. And something in me said, this means a lot to him. So the sisters bring their school diary. And I also sign. So the last child, who is 4, says to me, so Daddy, why do you sign in green? I'm like, oh, sorry. Am I not supposed to? He said, no, I need to know why you're signing in green. I said, because that's the official ink of a commissioner. And you know, the child, I said, wow. So I'm going to go to school and show that, yes, if Daddy's not around and he's helping people, Daddy signs with green. I'm going to show my colleagues and say, your daddy cannot sign with green. You know, so it looked to me like a compensation for them that the things we lost in presence, at least we have now in ego. It boosted, and they were so happy.
Yes, sir.
But you know the problem? Every night now, Daddy has a signed diary.
So do you feel like you get to discover them every day? Do you feel like you don't spend lots of time with them?
Absolutely, I'm a victim. I agree that I'm a culprit of lack of sufficient time.
Yeah.
But you see, the truth is, when you run matters of state like we do, there are times when your family needs to take the backstage for the country and states to take the front stage. There are times where you cannot meet with family obligations, very painfully so, for the states to run. There are times when I've had to sit with His Excellency the Governor, and he really desired to go on visiting day to his children. The truth is that there are very important matters of state, and he can't just do it. You know, and he sits to tell you, look, that's the price, one of the prices we pay for leadership.
So let's talk about pressure. as one of the youngest commissioners in the federation, so to say, what was the first few weeks like for you in EXCO meeting? Did you feel pressure?
No, not at all. Abraham Lincoln said, "I'll learn, prepare, and wait. Someday my time would come." And I've been a close follower of His Excellency the Governor. I've been in 2 administrations. I was SA in the administration of Chief Gospel Akwa Ibom, transited to being SA political. That got me very close to the kitchen of power. So I knew how the broth of power is cooked and the ingredients that go in there before I transited from there to be public secretary of the People's Democratic Party. So there wasn't pressure, apart from self-imposed pressure to perform.
Yeah.
The first 2 weeks, Carrot, Bok, Oluwa, Obun Marcos would tell you, they almost crashed. It felt like I wanted to do everything at the same time. I went into the ministry, there were plenty of things I saw, and I felt, no, I can't just take this, I can't take this one, I can't do this. So every day, we ended up sleeping by 3 a.m., and we ended up being awake by 7. And there were times I couldn't even sleep on my bed. So I have an office in the house. So at the end, Carrot will lie to one part of the couch, Bob lies to the other part, and we just all of us ended up sleeping on the couch in the office. And in the first 1 month, we used to work till past midnight in the secretariat, transit from the secretariat back home, have very late dinner or call it breakfast, because when you eat by past midnight, you're either a wizard or you are a cousin to a wizard or you're having early breakfast. So when we did that, we still went back to the office in the house and we're still working. So it was self-imposed pressure. We just thought that, look, we needed to deliver. The push against government on information management was so much, so we needed to push back. And the energy to push back, recall that we're not starting at the beginning. We're coming midway. So the energy to push back, especially when you're at the wall, never allow yourself have your back to the wall. It takes a lot of energy to push back from the wall. But you can keep struggling. As your back gets to the wall, you can put a leg, prevent that back from getting to the wall. So that's what we're trying to do. We took over from an excellent guy who was doing an excellent work, Charles Sudo, but he had challenges. The ministry had challenges, So we needed to push back. So we just needed to add hands. And luckily, he was still in the State Executive Council. He wasn't out. So a lot of things, I'll just pick up the phone and call him and say, what do you think about this? He said, oh, this is why this happened. So there wasn't much external pressure, but there was internal pressure. Carrot resigned from his work he was doing in Lagos, relocated to you and simply said, look, guys, let's get this going. Obawabong left Lagos. Everyone around me had to leave what they were doing previously and said, can we get this thing going right? So it was self-imposed pressure.
Okay, sir. And the last 15 or 10 minutes you've been talking, you've made it look like a teamwork thing. You're always carrying the young along. And I asked Blessing one time, he was my premier guest in Jason's room. I asked him if it was necessary that as a servant, he must always look forward to having a reward for loyalty. And he said nobody owes you anything. So now I'm with the mentor now today. Do you think, because I've observed you over time, me and a lot of people, do you think the way you place your mentees in offices, as a means of empowerment, is it a necessity? Must you do it?
Well, if you need to get a job done, I believe in excellence. If getting the job done is what you need, then why go for mediocres? So if you have people who are doing the job and they're doing the job well, let them do the job. Let them take credit. I see myself, I can't replicate myself physically, but I can replicate myself mentally. I can replicate emotionally. So, and it was Aristotle who said that a friendship is one soul living in many bodies. So if we can replicate excellence into everybody, and people begin to fly. I believe that the sky is large enough for all the birds to fly, so there's no need for competition. So I would rather introduce, I don't want to stand on the path of a young person who is going up. I'd rather be a helping hand, not a stumbling block on the path. Because I can't be that young person, and I can't be everything. For example, the guys are doing well. The Bon Marcoses, they're doing well.
Yes, sir.
I could not have been commissioner, member of board of health management board, member of hotels and tourism board, publicity secretary. No. So, but these gentlemen are doing well. So, Morgan is doing well.
Yes,
in his office. Borono is doing well. Itoronua is doing well. Ban Marcos is the master of legends. And everyone is just doing well. And for me, the easiest thing to do is to introduce them.
Yes, sir.
It's just introduction. Let them fly. Remove them from a cage. Let them fly. Take them out of that cage hold and let them fly.
So would I say it's unfortunate that most people in our environment, immediate environment, don't have this mentality you possess in means of empowering the young?
Well, it's a two-way thing. I've spoken to a lot of persons and said, so why don't we push these guys out? And they're like, look, you'll be the first victim of pushing them up. But where I'm not afraid is, you help someone, you become a victim. You don't help someone, you still become a victim of another person helps. So there's absolutely no problem. I've had people I pushed up fight me. I've had people I pushed up becoming a critical part of a conspiracy against me. But is that my problem? It's not my problem. They're doing their own work. I'm doing my own work. All of us have assigned roles in life. So I do my work. You do your work. You are the interviewer. I'm here as the guest.
Yes,
so you do the question asking. I do the answering.
Right.
So I cannot join you. So if people we push up choose to turn their backs against this, and again, don't have expectation. My dad said, when you do something for someone, do not expect a thank you. Because if you do not expect a thank you, the person doesn't tell you thank you, you don't remember. The person tells you thank you, that's added. You know, that immediately you expect a thank you and the person doesn't say thank you. You get angry and you lose the blessings of the things you did. So for me, the young people we push and continue to push up, they don't owe us. I don't have demands of them. We just let them go.
So it's a two-way thing.
Yeah, it's a two-way thing. So the younger people who also want to go up must be willing to painfully sit and work. They must adapt excellence as a virtue. They must make hard work what they love. You know, and you see, one of the things that people write in their CV is capacity to work with minimal supervision. That's a lie. A lot of people need, in fact, they don't even need supervision. They need holding of hands and doing the work. You know, so
yes,
young people must learn the capacity to work with minimal or no supervision. We must get to that point. So as I sit here, I do not need the governor to be monitoring what I'm doing. I must develop a template for myself, which is what I do for them in the office. We must develop a template of what we are going to do. What are we going to do? And at the end of the day, we do M&E. We evaluate how have we fared, what are lessons learned, and we push. And when it becomes our lifestyle, it becomes very easy to adapt. You know, so you set this up, you didn't wait for government to do it. And which is why I'm excited with what you're doing.
Yes,
and as regularly as possible, I'll be here. And I'd like you to come, let's talk about the next few steps.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't have to be as a ministry. It can be as Ini.
Yes,
because this is where we need to go to. We need to, I've been mooting an idea of an online radio and TV.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's just the huge cost of running it, you know, data and all that. But trust me, if we get to a point with the investments I hear people are trying to make in data only,
yes, sir.
If we create an online radio and TV,
yes, sir.
this is enough for
yes,
us.
Sir.
And
yes,
we
sir.
run programs. You'll be shocked as to how we can engineer the minds of people, how we can turn things around. And so that's me offering you a partnership to come
Thank
on.
you, so
Let's get that done.
Like, we're up for this, right? We're up for this. So, Comrade, let me ask you this. You're the head of the Ministry, Information and Strategy. You've stayed for a couple of months. Do you think information should be controlled?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Information, everything. You remember that Michelin, was it Michelin or there's this other brand. It says speed without control is disaster. Speed without control is disaster. Information without control is disaster. You see, information is objective, but the interpretation of information is subjective. So, for example, I could say Jason has a big head. Another person sees that as a huge insult. Another person says, no, it means he has a big head because he has big ideas. So information is objective, but interpretation is subjective. The subjectivity is determined by the exposure, determined by the bias, determined by a lot of things, of that person. For example, the governor pushes for the Ibom Deep Sea Port to come alive. And you expect that every Akwa Ibom person should applaud. No, there's no zero. You understand?
Yes, sir.
But the objective information is Ibom Deep Sea Port approval given. That's the objective. So now, we must, conscious of the multiplicity of meaning, semantics, we must create conditions for the use of information. That's why almost every country has an information policy. And we're working on that in Akwa Ibom. Information policy has to do with the collection, the processing, the dissemination, and the use of information. Information must be controlled. You see, there are people whose only asset is their integrity. And if you allow a free space where people can be maligned, with absolute falsehood, without let, then you'll be destroying the assets. It will look like an arson where you set fire into a building and it comes down. So, for example, a person who is a man of God, and that's his whole profession and duty, his character, his integrity is his tool of trade. His church will be empty the next morning if someone says something that impinges on his integrity.
That's true.
And so if we run a society where people are allowed, without let, to malign people as they like, without consequences, then a jungle would be a better place to live than our society. So, but that doesn't also mean stifling communication or information, no. But let some, for example, if I need to say something about, let there be checks.
Yes, sir.
Let there be checks. Let there be balancing. Let it be that I've heard this and I can say, Jason, I heard A, B, C, D about you. What's your take on that? But sometimes you read reports, especially on social media. For example, the other day, I saw Carrot put up a post, so I now asked him what happened. He said that some guy had a business transaction with another guy, legitimate business transaction, and that the business is suffering from frustration. And instead of the guy to sort himself out with someone, the guy goes on Facebook to call out the other person and calls him a fraudster. And so Carrot now does a PR for the other guy and says that he knows the guy. So that shouldn't happen.
Yes, sir.
So if you're dragging a girlfriend with Blessing Menem, for example, it shouldn't be reason for him to castigate you on social media. And he may have a lot of following and you may not. So it creates an imbalance that is difficult to cope. Or you have a platform, a veritable platform like this,
yes, sir,
and you just decide because you have a platform, you want to take down Carrot. You end his business in minutes.
Yes, sir. That's true.
So there's need for control. But the modus of control must be agreed.
Yes,
we must sit together and agree. Because all of us will eventually become victims.
Yes.
Now, people are quarreling with my superior, Alhaji Mohammed, because they think, oh, you used this approach to grow, so you cannot be stifling it. But the federal government has become a victim of, and which is the problem with feeding a monster. I tell people, you feed a monster, one day food will be over, or the monster needs variety, and you won't know the day the monster changes. And you thought the monster would just get from your hand. The monster will take your hand and will eat you.
True.
And unfortunately, you won't be around to tell the story. That's why monsters keep eating people, because no one who has had a monster experience has survived to tell the world that, look, never feed a monster.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, on that insight. And just a few more questions before I let you go. Is there hope for more young people to be policymakers in Akwa Ibom State?
Absolutely. His Excellency the Governor is very committed to bringing young people on board. If you check his aids, he's clear about it. He's very intentional. Even if you look at the local government chairman that we just finished, he's intentional about the inclusion of young people and women in governance. And he tries to listen to their voices. The problem few persons have with the governor is the governor is not interested in your proposition. he is interested in the reason behind your proposition. So he leaves the proposition and begins to query you on the reason. So the guy is a why guy. Why do you want to do this? Ini, why should this be done? Ini, why shouldn't this be done? And a lot of people define their proposition without defining the reason for the proposition. So, for example, if someone comes here and sees a fine studio and he has careless money, he wants to set up a studio, he wants to run live. Why do you want to do it? Because what is keeping Jason is not what he does, it is why he does it. What made Apple to become dominant as a phone maker despite trailing behind Nokia and Samsung at the time when the market share had already been completely taken by the two giants who were there? What made was Steve Jobs and co said, we are not making phones. We are making a communication gadget for people who hate status quo. Why? Because they hate status quo. So they want to do things faster. They want to do things in an unconventional way. So we have put all that unconventional disposition in one piece of material called a phone. We are not making phones. We are making a way for people who hate status quo to communicate and relate in a different manner. Who would have thought that BlackBerry would have been off the shelf? Who would have thought so?
Very true, sir.
So the why would sustain the what. Any what without a why, give it time, it will fall.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Commissioner, Afang or Atama?
You want to drop me there? You know, every meal has its peculiarity. Afang is lovely. Tama is lovely.
Sir.
Afiafere is lovely. The only soup that isn't lovely for me is okra. Don't go there.
And we won't say okra is an Akwa Ibom dish. We won't say that now. Because
Atake.
other tribes. Okay, Atake. Yes.
So for me, if I travel outside Akwa Ibom, I wouldn't dare attempt to eat anything outside Afang. Because anybody can prepare Afang.
Yes, sir.
And you can manage.
Yes, sir.
And it won't purge you.
Yes, sir.
But not anyone can prepare vegetable soup for you to eat and enjoy it. Not everyone prepare. Atama is even worse. It needs a degree of expertise.
Yes,
Else, you see oil and different components stand like a map of Africa, colored differently.
Sir.
But with Afang, anybody can. So these meals serve different purposes. So I don't support one over the other. I love the family of meals, and I love the fact that Akwa Ibom is Nigeria's capital of cuisine.
Yes, sir.
And we must promote it. But my worry at some point was that the Afang Atama stuff became abusive. We can push these things. Look, I need people to have tolerance.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I teach my people abuse me on social media, and my people are like, no, we have to go answer. That is the person you gave money last week. I say, no. Are you God? Even God says, God who created us in his likeness and for his purpose, says, I leave you two ways. And he gives you choice. The choice of the road to enter, but it gives you an advice. And I say, so if common human, because you helped someone who was in trouble, you think the person should become a direct replica of your thoughts? No, the person has a different upbringing, a different skill set, a different experience set. There are things the person won't take. So if you happen to do one of the things the person won't take, okay, so because you helped someone pay his fees 2 weeks ago, and the government you stay in demolishes his father's house, no matter what you're going to say, he doesn't feel good about it. So he reacts. You must have tolerance.
Yes, sir.
You must get to the mind of the person and see his anger and just calm down. When you need to reply, you reply in measured terms. And so we need to have some degree of managing dissent.
Yes, sir.
It's very difficult to manage dissent here. Dissent is seen as opposition, is seen as witchcrafts, So you need to just manage the people. So I found it rather bad that it degenerated into real abuse. And some people eventually began demarketing. You can support Afang without demarketing Atama.
Yes, sir.
You can also support Atama without demarketing Afang. Because at the end of the day, this is a global web. It's World Wide Web. People forget www, World Wide Web. They forget that. So the whole world is. So People, when you describe Afang in very terrible terms, there are people come to Afang because they already saw on the internet the people who own the meal discrediting the meal. So it's good for us to be able to promote. I can promote Jason without bringing down carrots. I can promote carrots without bringing down image faculty.
Yes, sir.
Because we all can exist.
So would you say Akwa Ibom has a united cultural identity, and how can we leverage on that?
No, we don't have, we have the central theme of our culture all through the communities in Akwa Ibom, the central theme is there. But you have variants. So even within Ibiono, Itu, Ikonoini, Eastern Ibibio, you still find some variants, but you find the central.
So would you say that's a good thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, the multiplicity of these variants enrich the central form. It's just like the Ibibio we speak. You're from Ikorobasi, and you say, yeah, Ame. You understand? Now, it doesn't make you different from the Ikonini or Ibionibom person, or from the Ona person. So, the centrality of the theme is, you see, every human concept suffers derogation, addition, change of form over time. So even language goes through that process.
Yes, sir.
The farther apart from the center you are, you begin to adopt new sounds. Those things just come naturally.
Yes, sir.
So that the Ikorobasi person says, yeah, Ame, and the Ibionibum person says, Ayinekame. There's a central theme. It's just the polar ends of the central diction. So it's good. It's for us to develop. It's for us to record. Because over time, these things will change. Yes, so that our children can go way back to see. Yes, when I was a lot younger, a lot of the big Ibibio people would never say Ibibio. They would say Ibobio. Ibobio. So, and now, Oluwa doesn't even understand what is Ibobio. You understand? He doesn't understand that. So it is for us to document this thing, because oral tradition will fail us, because immediately people die. So if we begin to document these things in the way they are, we are certain that our children can get back, so that if there's need for a renaissance, you can have way to start from, because a renaissance must get back to a point.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this podcast. It's been wonderful having the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Comrade Ini Ememobong. Thank you very much, sir. So you just made my money go up. I'm grateful.
I hope you share it with me.
Sir, definitely.
Chop knuckle.
Hey. So with the new second wave rumor now, how are we doing at Akwa Ibom? Hope there's no lockdown, sir.
No, the governor has said that lockdown is the last resort on his mind. So what we need to do is to encourage people to wear their face mask.
Yes, sir.
Keep a safe distance.
Yes, sir.
Good hand hygiene.
Yes, sir.
So that we can prevent this. The governor is conscious of the economic implication of another lockdown.
Yes, sir.
And check, it's not just economic, psychological implication.
Yes, sir.
There are people who are claustrophobic, and they cannot, and when you cage them in a place, there are people who are basangisa.
Yes, sir.
Like Blessing Menem. So during the
very
lockdown,
true, sir.
That's
true.
During the lockdown, Blessing would walk stroll. We call it stroll. He would stroll from a ward housing to shelter.
Yeah.
I said, boy, is a president. I don't have to do that. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
Glad to be here.
Thank you very much. That's your song again. Hey, thank you, Blessing. Thank you, Nectar Podcast. To everybody who's helped me. Mario, I see you. Thank you very much. I find you fresh. Thank you. Mr. Carrots, thank you. And what's this boss name? Hey, boss, no vest. Thank you very much. Boss, let's take photos, I think.
All right.
Hey. Yellow CC. Caro, yellow CC. Caro, take my money, follow Ibo. Oyibo run away.